I was the illegitimate son of Korea's most powerful businessman. He acknowledged me when he needed an heir, then abandoned me when his legitimate son returned. I died in a car accident they called unfortunate. I woke up at my mother's grave, 7 years old, with a name that means nothing and a future that means everything. The car hit the guardrail at 120 kilometers per hour. I remember the sound, metal screaming, glass shattering, the world spinning. I remember the taste of blood, the smell of smoke, the feeling of my body breaking. I remember the strange calm that came over me, the acceptance that this was the end, the quiet voice in my head that said, "They finally did it." They'd been planning it for months. My father's legitimate son had returned from abroad, ready to take his place as heir. I was no longer needed. I was a liability, a reminder of the affair that had almost destroyed his marriage, the son who'd been acknowledged only because there was no one else. Now there was someone else. And I was disposable. The car flipped. I closed my eyes. The darkness took me. I hadn't always been disposable. When I was young, when I was too young to understand what illegitimate meant, I was just his son. He visited when he could, brought gifts, told me he loved me. My mother smiled when he came, cried when he left, never explained why. I learned the truth when I was 10. "You're not his real son," the other children said. "You're a bastard. That means your father doesn't want you." I went home, asked my mother. She sat me down, held my hands, and told me everything. His marriage, the affair, my birth, the years of secrecy, of hiding, of pretending I didn't exist. "He wants to acknowledge you," she said. "His wife won't let him. His family won't accept it. But he's trying. He's fighting for you." I believed her. I was 10. I wanted to believe that my father loved me, that I mattered, that I wasn't a mistake. I was wrong. He acknowledged me when I was 17. His legitimate son had died. A car accident, ironically. The same way I would die, years later. He needed an heir. He needed someone to carry on his name, his legacy, his empire. And I was the only one left. I moved into his house, took his name, became the son he'd always wanted. It was strange at first. The servants whispered. His wife glared. His daughters pretended I didn't exist. But I didn't care. I was finally seen. I thought it would last. I thought he loved me. I thought I'd finally found a place where I belonged. I was wrong again. His legitimate son returned when I was 20. Not dead. Not gone. Just hidden. His mother had sent him away years ago, after the scandal, after the affair. But now he was back, ready to claim what was his. And I was no longer needed. My father didn't say it. He didn't have to. I saw it in the way he looked at me, the way his eyes slid past, the way his voice grew cold, the way he stopped calling me son. I was being erased. I tried to fight. I tried to prove myself. I worked harder, stayed later, sacrificed everything to show him I was worthy. It didn't matter. His legitimate son was back. And I was nothing. The accident happened on a Tuesday. I was driving home from the office, late, exhausted, trying to figure out how to save a company that was already gone. The roads were wet. The rain was heavy. I didn't see the truck until it was too late. Or maybe I did. Maybe, in the split second before the crash, I saw the driver's face, recognized him, realized that this was no accident. My father had finally decided to solve his problem. The car hit the guardrail. The world spun. The darkness came. And I woke up at my mother's grave. I woke to rain. Cold, steady, soaking through my clothes. I was 7 years old, kneeling at my mother's grave, staring at a headstone that hadn't been there yesterday. Or had it? Time was strange now. I remembered dying, the car, the crash, the darkness. I remembered living. The years of being hidden, then acknowledged, then discarded. I remembered the look on my father's face when he realized I was no longer useful. And I remembered her, my mother, the woman who'd loved me, protected me, died when I was too young to save her. I was at her funeral. No, a funeral. Her funeral. The one I'd attended in my first life, when I was 7 years old, too young to understand that I was now alone. But I wasn't 7. Not really. I was 24 years old, trapped in a child's body, watching my mother be buried for the second time. I stood, walked away from the grave, didn't look back. I had work to do. The first years were the hardest. I had no money, no family, no one to help me. Just a child's body and a lifetime of memories. I found work where I could, running errands for the local shopkeeper, cleaning houses for the elderly widow down the street, doing anything that paid. I saved everyone, hid every coin, built a hoard that no one knew about. I studied. I read every book I could find on business, on finance, on the strategies people use to build wealth. I learned to invest, to trade, to spot opportunities that others missed. I was 7 years old, and I was planning my revenge. My mother had left me something. I found it when I was 9, hidden in the walls of the small apartment we'd shared. A box. Old wood, carved with flowers, locked with a key I found under her pillow. Inside, documents. A bank account in my name, with more money than I'd ever seen. A letter, written in her shaky handwriting, explaining everything. My son, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry I couldn't be there to protect you. I'm sorry I couldn't give you the life you deserved. But I'm not sorry for what I built. The money in this account is yours. Use it wisely. Use it to become someone they can't ignore. Your father will try to erase you. Don't let him. You are not a mistake. You are not a secret. You are my son and I love you. Always. Mother. I read the letter 3 times. Then I put it back in the box, locked it, and hid it again. I had a plan. And now, I had the means to execute it. By the time I was 15, I had a small fortune. Not large enough to challenge my father's empire, but enough to start. I invested in companies I'd researched, in markets I understood, in opportunities that others overlooked. I learned to read people, their weaknesses, their desires, their secrets. I built relationships with people who would one day be in positions to help me. By the time I was 18, I had a company. Not a large one. Not yet, but growing. I started small, a logistics firm, then a tech startup, then a real estate holding company. Each success funded the next. Each failure taught me something new. By the time I was 20, I had an empire. Still not large enough to challenge my father, but getting there. The company I built was in the shadows. Not illegal, I was too smart for that. But hidden, complicated, structured in ways that made it difficult to trace back to me. I used different names for different holdings. Different addresses, different accounts, different layers of ownership. Anyone looking at my empire would see a web of companies, investments, partnerships. They wouldn't see the boy at the center. I liked it that way. I'd spent my first life being seen, being acknowledged, then discarded, then killed. This time, I wanted to be invisible, until I was ready to be seen. And when I was ready, they would never forget me. I watched my father's empire crumble from the shadows. His legitimate son, the one he'd chosen over me, was running it into the ground. Bad investments, worse hires, a string of scandals that made headlines and destroyed reputations. The board was restless. The shareholders were angry. The banks were calling in their loans. My father was desperate, and I was the only one who could save him. He didn't know it yet. He didn't know I existed. He thought I'd died in that car accident years ago, buried in a grave he'd never visited. He was wrong. He came to me when he was desperate. His company was failing. The legitimate son he'd chosen over me had run it into the ground, embezzling, lying, destroying everything my father had built. The board was demanding his resignation. The banks were calling in their loans. He needed a miracle, and I was the only one who could give it to him. He didn't know who I was, of course. He'd erased me from his memory the day I died. The car accident, the closed casket, the son he'd never acknowledged. He thought I was a stranger, a potential investor, someone who could save his company. I let him think that. I let him come to my office, sit across from my desk, and plead for help. Please, he said. I've lost everything. My son, my real son, betrayed me. I have no one left. I looked at him, the man who'd hidden me, acknowledged me, discarded me, killed me, and felt nothing. Your real son, I repeated. The one you chose over me. He frowned. I'm sorry. I don't understand. I stood, walked around my desk, stopped in front of him. Hello, Father. I smiled. It's been a while. The recognition was slow. First confusion, then disbelief, then horror. No, he whispered. You're dead. The accident. The accident you arranged. I sat on the edge of my desk. The accident that was supposed to kill me. The accident that would have killed me if I hadn't already lived through it once. He stared at me. That's impossible. Is it? I pulled out my phone, opened the file I'd been building for 17 years. I know about the payments you made to the driver, the instructions you gave to the mechanics, the phone calls you made to ensure no one investigated too closely. His face went white. How? I've been preparing for this moment for 17 years, Father. Every transaction, every lie, every person you hurt. I set down my phone. I have enough evidence to destroy you, to put you in prison, to take everything you own. He stared at me. For the first time in his life, he had nothing to say. I don't want your company, I said. I don't want your money. I don't want anything from you. I just want you to know, before you lose everything, that I built this. Me. The son you threw away. The son you tried to kill. He stood there for a long moment. Then he walked out the door. I watched him go. Then I went back to work. His company collapsed within the year. The legitimate son went to prison, fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy. The board was dissolved. The shareholders lost everything. The banks repossessed the buildings, the factories, the homes. My father died alone, in a small apartment, with no one to mourn him. I didn't go to the funeral. I didn't need to. I'd already buried him, years ago, in the grave where he'd tried to put me. I bought his company for pennies on the dollar. The board was gone. The shareholders were gone. The banks were desperate to get rid of it. I paid cash, signed the papers, took ownership of everything he'd built. And then I rebuilt it. I changed the name, changed the leadership, changed the culture. I brought in new people, new ideas, new energy. I turned the company into something my father never could have imagined: ethical, innovative, successful. Within 5 years, it was the largest company in the country. Within 10, it was the largest in the world. And I, the bastard son, the disposable heir, the boy who'd been erased, was at the top. People asked about my name. Kong J1, they said. Who are your parents? Where did you come from? How did you build this? I smiled, said nothing, let them wonder. But I knew. And my mother knew. And somewhere in whatever came after, my father knew. The bastard prince had become the king. She came to see me on a Tuesday. My father's wife. The woman who'd refused to acknowledge me, who'd hidden me, who'd tried to erase me. She was old now. Broken. The scandal had destroyed her. The bankruptcy had taken everything. She had no money, no family, no one to turn to. Please, she said. I need your help. I looked at her. The woman who'd made my childhood a nightmare, who'd called me a bastard, who'd celebrated when I was cast out and felt nothing. Why should I help you? Because, she hesitated. Because I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what I did. I'm sorry for how I treated you. I'm sorry for... Stop. I held up a hand. I don't need your apologies. I don't need your regret. I don't need anything from you. Then why? I'm not helping you because you deserve it. I stood. I'm helping you because my mother would have wanted me to, because she was kind, because she believed in forgiveness, because she was better than both of you. I wrote her a check, enough to live on, enough to be comfortable. She stared at it, cried, thanked me. I walked her to the door, watched her leave. Then I went back to work. I never married. People found that strange. The richest man in the country, the most powerful businessman in the world, surely he'd want someone to share it with. But I'd had a family, and they'd killed me. So I built my own family. The people who worked for me, who believed in me, who helped me build something better. The young entrepreneurs I mentored. The scholarships I funded. The futures I created for people who'd been forgotten. I built a foundation in my mother's name. Programs for single mothers, for children without families, for people who'd been told they weren't enough. And every year, on the anniversary of her death, I visited her grave. I brought flowers. White roses, her favorite. I sat beside her headstone and told her about the company, about the people we'd helped, about the future we were building. I kept my promise, I said. I became someone they couldn't ignore. The wind rustled through the trees. The sun was warm on my face. I miss you, I whispered. I miss you every day. But I'm okay. I'm okay because of you. Because you loved me. Because you never stopped fighting, even when you knew you were going to lose. I stayed until the sun set. Then I walked back to my car, drove back to the city, and went back to work. I'm old now. Not ancient. 53 isn't ancient, but old enough to see the results of choices made long ago. Old enough to watch the people I've mentored succeed, to see the foundation I built flourish, to know that my mother's legacy will outlast me. I think about her sometimes. The woman who loved me. The woman who died too young. The woman who left me a box of documents and a letter that changed everything. I think about my father too. The man who hid me, acknowledged me, discarded me, killed me. I don't hate him anymore. Hate takes energy, and I've used my energy for better things. I just remember him. The way you remember a storm that passed, a fire that burned, a wound that healed. He was a chapter. A short one. And the book was much longer than he'd ever been. Last year, a young woman came to see me. She was 22, brilliant, driven. She'd built a small company from nothing, the way I had years ago. She was struggling, the way I had years ago. I need a mentor, she said. Someone who's been where I am. Someone who can help me see what I'm missing. I looked at her, her fierce eyes, her steady hands, her stubborn refusal to give up, and saw myself. Tell me about your family, I said. She hesitated. I don't have one. Not really. My mother died when I was young. My father didn't want me. I nodded. I know what that's like. I mentored her. I funded her. I watched her grow. And when she succeeded, when her company became successful, when she became someone they couldn't ignore, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Pride. Not for me. For her. For the cycle we'd broken together. To the son or daughter who will read this someday. My name is Kong Jae-won. I was the bastard son of a man who didn't want me. I was hidden, acknowledged, discarded, and killed. I came back. I built something from nothing. I became someone they couldn't ignore. If you're reading this, you're probably like me. Someone who's been told they're not enough. Someone who's been erased. Someone who's been made to feel like a mistake. You're not a mistake. You're not invisible. You're not nothing. You have the power to build something new. Something they can't take from you. Something that will outlast them. Outlast you. Outlast everything. Don't let them erase you. Don't let them win.
Build. Fight. Rise.
Kong Jae-won. Founder, Kong Group. Year 30 after the rise.